Hey, I'm Abby Phillip in New York. Let's get right to what America's talking about. No reservations. Tonight, the president is saying that he is unconcerned and unbothered by the market meltdown, even as you are trying desperately not to look at your 401k right at this very moment.
Mr. President, when you look at the market selling off, that didn't concern you, and
Nope,
where do you see it
doesn't
going?
concern me. I think some people are going to make great deals by buying stocks and bonds and all the things they're buying. I think we're going to have an economy that's a real economy, not a fake economy.
Do you and your tariff policies right now bear any responsibility for the turmoil we're seeing this week?
Biden gave us a horrible economy. He gave us horrible inflation. And I think the market was going to go very, very bad.
That is a very different story than the one being told by investors or by economists or Canadians.
I just feel when it's at a fever pitch and we see the market tumbling over $4 trillion, inflation happening, uncertainty and consumer confidence is down. It's not about backing down. It's about sitting around the table and negotiating a fair deal, because right now, no one likes uncertainty.
Kevin, Trump's got your people very mad up there in Canada. This back and forth with Canada seems to be leading to the place that he could have gotten if he had just said, hey, Canada, let's sit down and renegotiate USMCA 3 weeks ago without, dropping the stock market 10%.
Abby, you've been watching and listening to Trump for 12 years. Do you think he's going to change? You have to distinguish between the noise and the signal. The signal that Trump's put out multiple times is what an incredible economic union could be formed if we eradicated tariffs and joined the two economies, not buying the country and just making Canadians Americans. Sovereignty is off the table.
I don't want to rewrite the words that Trump himself has said out of his own mouth. He said two things. He believes in an economy that is powered by tariffs. He believes in tariffs, not that it's a negotiating tool. He wants the tariffs because he wants the money. The second thing that he said is that, who knows if this is real, but he keeps repeating it. He wants Canada to be the 51st state. So why are you asking us to ignore what Trump is saying?
Because you've been watching Trump for 12 years.
And I don't ignore what he says anymore because he tends to do the things that he says.
You got to listen. You got to listen for the signal outside of the noise. He's bombastic. He says outrageous things. But from all that comes an interesting opportunity. In Canada, you've got the United States of America, the largest consumer market on earth, and Canada, the richest country on earth with everything everybody needs every day. You don't have to buy the country, and they're not selling their sovereignty, but if you get an economic union with no tariffs and maybe a common currency and maybe a common passport and maybe something that could be done around making sure that everything is equalized, China will never catch up. And I think that's the opportunity. So even 3 hours ago, before I got here, Ford, who was talking about cutting off electricity, changed his mind. We're in a narrative of negotiation.
Well, I think both sides backed down and they went to the negotiating table, which is, frankly, where they should have been in the first place.
Abby, it's kumbaya.
But it's not. It's the problem with that is one. I mean, when I have my good Republican friends at the table, the first thing they like to do is talk about the Biden economy, and I have to remember that if we had a sharp decline in the stock market under Joe Biden, then their hair would be on fire. It would be on Fox News 24/7. They would come in here and tell us that Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel. That's first. The second thing is, while Donald Trump has this uncertainty, and it's not just the uncertainty of the Trump administration, it's also the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to pass a CR, which Mike Johnson was able to do today. It's the uncertainty of what they're going to do next with tariffs, et cetera. But who gets lost in that? It's those people who have 401ks. It's those people who have retirements. I mean, it's those people who have money in the market to save for a rainy day. And so I got a great deal of respect for you. You know more about money than most. But to say that those people aren't being caught up in that whirlwind is just, I mean, that is a fact. While we're gaming out what Donald Trump says, the fact is the market lost his ass, and it's Donald Trump's fault.
You think the market's going to go down forever?
Well, no, the markets go down and up.
Yeah, but last time we were here,
So you're saying that people have 401ks. You're saying they're having a meltdown. I mean, the market will go up and down, and it will go up. And over time, the United States stock market has done quite well. So, I mean, the president's been acknowledging he's expecting some short-term turbulence in the market, but I wouldn't measure the health of the stock market over a short period of time.
I'm actually measuring the health of the economy. One, especially over the last 3 or 4 weeks since he's been there.
Well, you brought up 401ks. I just wanted to answer that.
But no, and I'm with you. But I can also, I mean, that is a very true sentiment. And actually, there are going to be a lot of people who text me tomorrow and be like, there ain't enough people who have money in the stock market, so it's not an issue that trickles down. So that could be another issue as well. But what I am saying is that the uncertainty, this tariff this morning by the afternoon is off. That is not a way to govern.
Well, I mean, and to the points you guys are talking about, that is directly controlled by the president. So the market will be up, the market will be down, but the president and the way he's going about the tariffs, he's directly influencing the way the market is moving. So the question is not whether or not the market will stay up or down, but whether or not Donald Trump will get consistent on tariffs and his economic plan soon so that people don't have this uncertainty.
I also think I'm looking at this from a different perspective for people who actually don't even have 401ks. There's a whole constituency of people who don't have retirement plans, don't have disposable income to buy stocks when they are down, because they are literally living paycheck to paycheck. And many of those individuals voted for Donald Trump. And I don't think you're right, man. What the president is saying is causing instability in the market. Now, last week we were at this table and the market had dipped again, or before, twice last week. And it was like, well, it's one day. Now we're like 3 or 4 days in because of the language. So I think there are some people who will benefit from, probably people like Elon Musk, probably people who have the luxury to not just have a 401k, but have some extra cash on the side to make the most when the market goes down and they can buy stocks. But then there is this whole set of people in middle America, that working class person that doesn't have that luxury, and what is happening to them. And prices are still high. I get it, it's been 6 weeks, but prices are still high. And the social safety net programs that they often use are at risk.
Now, one thing is true, eggs are down. Eggs are now cheaper than they were when Trump came in. Everybody's been whining about eggs. Eggs are now
so killing the chicken part.
Eggs are down.
Killing the chicken part.
I mean, maybe they're down a little bit, but they're still A, not available.
Look it up.
And B,
well, we have
they
to grow
still
more
cost-
chickens, but eggs have gotten
They still
cheaper.
cost more than $5 a dozen. Okay, but speaking of regular everyday Americans, one of the things that's been going on, in addition to all of this uncertainty, is the cuts continue to affect real people. Here is the Agriculture Secretary talking about $1 billion in cuts to food banks and food programs that benefit United States schools.
USDA cancels $1 billion in local food purchasing for schools and food banks. How do you justify that?
Well, listen, I think it's really important. And of course, the left is doing what the left does. These were COVID era programs. These were additional funds. Right now, from what we are viewing, that program was non-essential, that it was a new program, and that it was an effort by the left to continue spending taxpayer dollars that were not necessary.
Man.
Whew. You guys, it is cynical out there when we're talking about kids eating and
That's
politics.
not what that was about.
It was funny. It wasn't funny. During COVID, one of the main things that we all came together to do was to deal with the instability that kids who weren't in schools were going through.
We're not at COVID anymore.
I understand that, but if you think that child hunger is an issue of the past,
Always been an issue,
and it's an issue now, so I just don't see how you make a case to the American people, same American people that have been struggling, according to the right, for a couple of years now, that there is anything to be gained by cutting off food
We
to
are
kids.
not in a COVID
That program is
economy.
also one.
I don't think we're cutting enough.
But
I
that
think we should
program
cut
is also one
20%
that
more.
benefits not just the recipients, but also the farmers that are there able
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
purchase from. That's the main reason it's a DO, a Department of Agriculture.
This issue is not going to go away because it's very contentious. But when you cut in any organization, government or private, it's very demoralizing. It's traumatic, and it gets lots of bad press, as we're doing right now. But that's why you cut 20% more. I think Elon's not cutting enough. Cut 20% more now. Get your spreadsheet out. These are the names. Whack everybody, and then 20% more, as we do in the private sector every day and have done for 100 years in private equity, and hire back when the organization gels. That way, the demoralization only happens once. You don't want to cut multiple times. More whacking, more whacking.
But let me just, can I explain to you that this is when running.
You don't need to explain it to me. I know how it works.
But no, you don't, because
Actually,
when you.
I do. I've done it multiple times.
But yeah, that's in the private sector, and you cannot run.
This is worse than private sector.
You cannot run everyday government the same way you run the
fat dripping with waste
we're not
government.
I'm not talking about fat dripping with waste government.
What do we
if I
have?
told you in the South, right now, in red states, do you know the number one cause?
What does this have to do with red or blue?
Can I finish my question? Do you know the number one cause for children underperforming in schools right now?
Bad educators.
They're hungry.
Hungry as a former.
No. Let me finish.
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Let me finish.
I actually,
No,
my
but-
whole
but
career
that's-
was in education.
No,
That's my point of bringing that up to you.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you had things like the free and reduced lunch program. You have the summer lunch program.
Yes.
You have programs that were expanded so kids could actually. So I'm not arguing with you about your expertise in the private sector, but what I am saying is that a 20% cut or whack, you're cutting from Allendale Fairfax High School and Birmingham High Schools.
Okay.
You're cutting from places that really matter.
You want to talk about high schools in America? That's what I did for 14 years.
I also was a high school teacher.
Let me just say, we have a whole discussion coming about schools.
Yes.
But one thing, I want to let you in, Ashley, but I just want you to consider, the Department of Agriculture, there was a great story this week about how the Department of Agriculture is a great place to cut from because the biggest beneficiary of a lot of their programs and grants are huge, mega corporate farms that don't need it. But you don't get the headlines about those guys. Why? And it's partly because it's harder to cut those things, and Doge isn't doing it.
You know, Doge will get around to everything eventually. That's the whole point. Doge is so contentious right now because of what they're doing.
Why don't they start with the big stuff as opposed to food for kids in schools?
Look, you can criticize where it goes first. They're going to focus their laser on cutting into every sector, and it's going to keep going, and it's going to remain contentious.
I just feel like the human impact of this is always missed in these stories. I remember growing up going to the Boys and Girls Club every day after school, and it was free lunches or free after school meals that local programs provided, that many of the kids in those programs, that was their dinner. If they did not eat there, they would not eat when they went home because they lived in low-income schools. I remember teaching at Boys and Girls High School where my students would come in early to get breakfast so that they could perform at grade level and be good students. Is the school system perfect? I know we're going to talk about it, but it was feeding kids early in the morning so they could come and pay attention because they wouldn't get it at home, and then giving free or reduced lunches. I know that when children are born, and WIC, women, infants, and children, the developmental phase of children, if they do not get proper nutrition when they're from utero to 5 years old, the likelihood that when they actually get into the schools, they can perform at grade level. This is a systemic cycle. And so to start, you could start with the big manufacturers, but you're not. You could start at the Pentagon, but you start with kids. That is a direct impact that affects Republicans and Democrats. And I don't think that's what people wanted.
All right, up next for us, a surreal scene playing out. Trump, the car salesman with Elon Musk at the White House. And then a big revelation comes out about Musk as well. Plus, we have much more breaking news tonight on the Department of Education firing half of its workforce. What does that mean for children in the United States?